Did you know that the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now is happening in Sudan? A country torn apart by a brutal civil war that has displaced over 10 million people, and according to some reports, killed more than 150,000 people, pushing half the population towards starvation. Entire cities lie in ruins. Over 250,000 trapped civilians in Al-Fashir now wait for the inevitable, a bloodbath. Drone strikes have flattened neighborhoods, ethnic killings are underway, and the world scrolls on. No emergency UN summit, no Save Sudan hashtags, no global outrage. As famine spreads, bodies pile up and cities burn, how many must die before the world admits that Sudan is bleeding to death? Join us as we tell you about the monsters behind the carnage. Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. The Sudanese civil war is not new. It is an endless loop of betrayal, coups and carnage. Since April 2023, two generals have turned an entire nation into a battlefield. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan's Sudanese Armed Forces or SAF against Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo's Rapid Support Forces or RSF. What began as a past struggle over army integration has spiraled into one of Africa's or the world's worst humanitarian catastrophes. According to UN reports, nearly 30 million Sudanese are in desperate need of aid, with 12 million forced from their homes. And while official figures stay muted, the new Arab estimates the real death toll could be as high as 150,000. Al-Fashir's fall marks not just a military defeat, but the possible dismemberment of a country. Can Sudan survive when even its soul has been split apart? Sudan, Africa's third largest country, is disintegrating in real time. Once hailed as the bridge between the Arab world and Africa, it is now a graveyard of broken promises and unburied bodies. The RSF's capture of Al-Fashir on October 26, 2025 is more than a battlefield win. It's the collapse of human empathy. Recent reports from the ground paint an increasingly grim picture of Al-Fashir city. Units of the Rapid Support Forces, led by Commander Isa Abulolo, have reportedly executed more than 15 civilians at point-blank range.
We've seen actually, in the last 24 hours, numerous videos, very concerning videos being put online by RSF fighters showing them executing civilians and others by way of retribution, having taken over El-Fasher. So the concerns really will be those that have been predominant, is that the RSF and its now parallel government won't provide any protection for civilians, that there will be revenge attacks.
Eyewitness accounts suggest these victims were not combatants, but ordinary residents attempting to deliver food to starving families trapped by the siege. The incident underscores the RSF's brutal repression of humanitarian activity, effectively weaponizing hunger to break civilian resistance and silence any semblance of community relief efforts.
So the situation right now in Al-Fashir is really a black box. Like, we really fear for the civilians who are trapped inside the city. And what's even most concerning is that we're not getting any information. For example, it's been 48 hours that we're trying to reach our local partners who we've been working with for the past 6 months, and also the local responders who've been, risking their lives every day to try and support families trapped in Al-Fashir. And no one is responding. We've just got only one partner who managed to flee, and one staff of a local partner was trying to flee and arrived in Tawil. People are basically trapped. Some of them are hiding in holes on the ground in order to protect themselves from shelling. But most of all, they fear execution. They fear targeted killing. We have heard of house-to-house raids. We have heard of mass execution as people try to flee.
After 18 months, the RSF's drones and artillery starved Al-Fashir into submission. Now, those same weapons enforce their rule, looting, executing, and terrorizing civilians. Humanitarian convoys can't enter. Communication lines are cut. Starlink is the only lifeline to the outside world. Yet global headlines remain focused elsewhere. When Gaza burns, when Ukraine bleeds, the world reacts as they should. But when Sudan dies, it does so alone. The war's origins are painfully simple. Two generals who once ruled together turned their guns on each other. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan leads the Sudanese armed forces, the traditional army. His rival, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, or Hemedti, commands the Rapid Support Forces, a paramilitary born from the infamous Janjaweed militias that carried out Darfur's genocides 2 decades ago. After the 2021 coup that derailed Sudan's democratic transition, tensions exploded. By April 15, 2023, Khartoum became a war zone. The conflict spread like wildfire from the capital to the deserts of Darfur, from Kordofan's oil fields to the Nile's fertile banks. Each side claimed legitimacy, neither had mercy. The cost? Tens of thousands dead, cities turned to rubble, hospitals destroyed, people starved. Sudan's collapse is not sudden. It's a continuation of a historical tragedy stretching back to independence. Sudan's story has always been one of division. Since gaining independence in 1956, the nation has been torn by ethnic, religious, and regional conflicts. The first civil war from 1955 to 1972 left 500,000 dead. The second civil war from 1983 to 2005 killed 2 million more and gave birth to South Sudan's independence in 2011. But even after that separation, peace never came. Dictator Omar al-Bashir ruled with iron and ideology, fueling the Darfur genocide that displaced millions. When he fell in 2019, people dreamed of democracy. Instead, they got two generals fighting for the throne, one with an army, the other with gold and guns. Sudan's tragedy isn't just war, it's déjà vu written in blood. Sudan isn't just another African crisis. It's a strategic prize, a crossroads between Africa and West Asia, bordered by 7 countries and blessed with an 800-kilometer Red Sea coastline. Sudan sits on one of the most valuable pieces of real estate on earth. 12 to 15% of global maritime trade flows through the Red Sea. Oil tankers, cargo ships, and food supplies worth over $1 trillion a year. Sudan's Port Sudan is the choke point between global commerce and chaos. Its proximity to Saudi Arabia, just 30 kilometers across the water, gives it immense geopolitical weight. Whoever controls Sudan controls a gateway to West Asia, Africa, and Asia itself. And beneath its soil lie gold, oil, and fertile land, the kind of resources that make foreign powers circle like vultures. Sudan's civil war isn't just a domestic feud, it's a proxy war, a shadow contest of global and regional ambitions. Egypt backs the Sudanese army, desperate to protect its lifeline, the Nile. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran, and Turkey also line up behind Sudanese army, providing drones, training, and diplomatic cover. For them, an RSF victory means a UAE-dominated Darfur threatening Arab balance. On the other side stands the United Arab Emirates, bankrolling the RSF with gold, guns, and mercenaries. Intelligence reports confirm hundreds of flights from Abu Dhabi to Darfur carrying weapons, including Chinese-made drones and Cornet missiles. Why? Because the RSF controls Sudan's gold mines, and gold buys silence, loyalty, and war. Chad and Ethiopia have also thrown in their lot with the RSF, while Russia's Wagner Group plays both sides, trading weapons for access to mines and potential bases on the Red Sea. China, meanwhile, supplies arms quietly to both factions, protecting its Belt and Road stakes. It's a global marketplace of death, and Sudan is the showroom floor. The UAE's fingerprints are all over Sudan's collapse. Its support to the RSF isn't about ideology, it's about control. Darfur's gold mines feed the UAE's billion-dollar bullion trade, with RSF commanders funneling smuggled gold to Dubai. In return, the RSF receives weapons, vehicles, and drone technology. Over 248 flights between late 2024 and early 2025 carried arms into Sudan in defiance of UN embargoes. Thermobaric munitions, anti-tank missiles, ammunition for urban seizures. These shipments turned the RSF from a militia into a war machine. The United Nations calls Sudan a catastrophe of staggering scale. Yet where is the outrage? According to the UN, over 30 million Sudanese need aid. 12.4 million have fled their homes. According to reports by Sudan Tribune, around 500,000 children have died from starvation. Entire states, North Darfur, the Nuba Mountains, Gezira, are starving. Still, global funding appeals go unanswered.
Over the past week alone, 26,000 new arrivals have been registered, have been received in Tawila. The stories that we hear through my colleagues that are on the ground in Tawila providing protection services are horrendous and horrific. Our new arrivals report of widespread ethnically and politically motivated killing, indiscriminate violence affecting in particularly the most vulnerable. We have accounts of people with disabilities who were executed, who were killed as they were unable to flee. But we also hear people that are trying to leave the city and manage to get out of the city, but on the way they're caught up and they are also being shot for unknown reasons. The protection concerns and the protection needs are tremendous. We see constant violations of international human rights law, of international humanitarian law. People report the killings, arrest and detention, very often tortured in detention, but also looting, extortion, and then in particularly affecting women and children, the gender-based violence, rape, and recruitment of children into armed forces.
The UN's $4.2 billion emergency fund for Sudan remains barely half met. Aid convoys are bombed, hospitals looted, relief workers killed. The international system that mobilized billions for Ukraine has left Sudan begging for crumbs. And while the world debates Gaza or Taiwan, Sudan's crisis festers in silence. The price of indifference is genocide, paid in hunger and horror. When the RSF finally broke through on October 26th, the army retreated west, leaving behind a city drenched in fear. Witnesses describe RSF fighters detaining fleeing civilians, looting homes, and carrying out executions. Women are assaulted. Entire communities vanish overnight. Humanitarian groups call it horrendous and apocalyptic. The UN warns that Al-Fashir's fall could trigger the largest civilian massacre in modern African history. And yet, the world yawns. No emergency resolution, no sanctions, no outrage. Just another African tragedy fading into the news cycle. Sudan is a puzzle with too many pieces missing. Decades of coups, militias, and power vacuums have shattered central authority. Neither the army nor the RSF can claim legitimacy. Both are predators feeding off chaos. Regional powers have weaponized Sudan's divisions for profit and power. The army controls the Nile corridor. The RSF controls gold and Darfur. Civilians control nothing. Mediation efforts from Jeddah to Cairo to Addis Ababa have failed because every stakeholder wants a different outcome. Peace in Sudan is bad business for those profiting from war. And beneath it all lies an unspoken truth. The world doesn't see African suffering as urgent. Not when oil, trade routes, and minerals matter more. Every statistic hides a story. Sudan's health system has collapsed. Cholera, malaria, and starvation are spreading faster than bullets. UNICEF calls it one of the largest child death crises in modern history. In parts of North Darfur, 70% of families eat once every 2 days, if they're lucky at all. The war hasn't just destroyed lives, it has erased hope. Beneath Sudan's misery lies a deeper game. The Red Sea, carrying $1 trillion in annual trade, is now a militarized corridor where powers compete for influence. Russia wants a naval base in Port Sudan. The UAE eyes port control. The US fears a new axis of instability linking Yemen, Eritrea, and Sudan. Meanwhile, the Nile, lifeblood of Egypt, flows through Sudan's war zones. A destabilized Sudan means water insecurity for Cairo and chaos for Ethiopia. This is why every neighboring state has a stake, and why none can afford peace that doesn't serve their interests. Sudan's geography is both its blessing and its curse, rich in resources but trapped in the crosshairs of global greed. Analysts warn that a de facto partition is underway, and when a country fractures this deep, reunification is a fantasy. The last time Sudan split, South Sudan was born in blood. 14 years later, history repeats itself, bloodier, hungrier, forgotten. Both sides have committed atrocities. The RSF's ethnic cleansing in Darfur mirrors its Janjaweed past. The army's airstrikes have flattened residential blocks. Neither side faces justice. The International Criminal Court has issued warnings, but no arrests. UN's fact-finding mission documented crimes against humanity, but no action followed. Impunity breeds repetition. Sudan bleeds because it has always been allowed to. When justice sleeps, genocide awakens. The US, EU, and African Union issue statements, not sanctions. The Arab League debates dialogue. China stays neutral. Russia profits. The UAE denies. Everyone condemns, no one intervenes. It's the same global paralysis seen in Rwanda, in Syria, in Darfur before. The world's conscience moves only when cameras do. But there are no cameras in El-Fashir, only corpses, dust, and silence. By late 2025, Sudan isn't just a failed state, it's a humanitarian black hole. Over 30 million people depend on aid that can't reach them. The RSF governs with guns. The army governs with airstrikes. The transitional dream of 2019, freedom, peace, justice, has turned into a nightmare. Even if a ceasefire is declared tomorrow, rebuilding will take generations. The wounds, ethnic, political, and psychological, are too deep. Sudan's crisis isn't just about territory or power, it's about survival. Sudan's civil war exposes not just the brutality of its generals, but the moral bankruptcy of the world that watches. When history asks who killed Sudan, will we dare say we all did? Thank you for watching Statecraft.